Okay, Mr. Mayor, the meeting is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regular scheduled city council meeting. Is a virtual Zoom meeting of Tuesday, November 10th, 2020. We will all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, and after the Pledge of Allegiance, can we please stand, and we're going to have a moment of silence for Larry Grant, a member of the Senior Commission who passed away last Friday, and for Wendell George, the father-in-law of our city manager, Steve Brown. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with
liberty and justice
for all.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Mayor Beagle,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Resnick,
Here.
Councilmember Behrman,
Here.
Councilmember Gotchel,
Here.
Councilmember Grenlin Fox,
Here.
Councilmember Sharp,
Present.
Councilmember Smiley,
Here.
quorum present.
Thank you. Changes or additions to the agenda tonight as presented. City Manager Brown, do we have any?
I think we may have lost him.
All right. I do have one for tonight. Due to the passing of Steve's father-in-law, we're going to table new business number 3, the recommendation to convene a closed session of city council in accordance with the Michigan Open Meetings Act after council comments to consider the purchase or lease of real property. I'm going to table that until the next meeting.
Sounds good. Or
Thank you.
we vote on?
Do we vote on that, Madam Clerk?
No,
Okay.
a vote is not necessary.
All right, very good. Thank you. So then next up is the approval of minutes. We have one set of minutes to approve tonight. It's the regular city council meeting of October 27th, 2020. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Support.
Any questions, corrections, deletions? All right, seeing none, I've got a motion and support to approve the minutes of the regular city council meeting of October 27th, 2020. Roll call vote, please.
Mayor Beagle,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Resnick,
Yes.
Councilmember Behrman,
Yes.
Councilmember Gotchel,
Yes.
Councilmember Grenlin Fox,
Yes.
Councilmember Sharp,
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley,
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you. We have one item of correspondence for tonight. It's a notice of hearing for the electric customers of DTE Electric Company, case number U-20826. Next up is the first call to the public. The first call to the public is limited to 5 minutes per speaker, addressing agenda items only. The rules for the call to the public are as follows. The public shall address the council during the call to the public, which shall be included on the agenda immediately after correspondence and again immediately after new business. The first call to the public immediately after correspondence shall be limited to agenda items only. A person shall not address the council in excess of 5 minutes unless time is extended by a majority vote of the council present. Persons wishing to address the council shall identify themselves and their place of residence and shall state their reason for addressing the council. And all comments by the public shall be made directly to the council. And again, since this is a Zoom meeting, if you would like to partake, press *9 on your telephone keypad. That'll activate the raised hand feature and we'll call on you. Do we have anybody for the first call to the public?
Let's see if anybody raises their hand. Press *9 to raise your hand to address council. We'll give it a moment. We'll give it another moment. I don't see anybody with their hand raised, just another moment. No one has raised their hand.
All right, I'm going to close the first call to the public then. Thank you. Next up, the city manager's report. We have the fire monthly report for September 2020. Anybody with questions on that for Chief Roberts? All right, seeing none. Next up is the police monthly report of September 2020. Any questions for Public Safety Director Moore? Seeing none, we'll move on. Next up is the consent agenda. All items under the consent agenda are considered routine by the city council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which event the items will be removed from the consent agenda and added to the regular agenda at the end of unfinished or new business. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Very good. Roll call vote, please.
Deputy Mayor Resnick,
Yes.
Councilmember Behrman,
Yes.
Councilmember Gotchel,
Yes.
Councilmember Grenlin Fox,
Yes.
Councilmember Sharp,
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley,
Yes.
Mayor Beagle,
Yes,
7 yes.
thank you. All right, next up is unfinished business. We have one item of unfinished business. It's a recommendation to engage in a discussion concerning the potential disposal of 17 city-owned patrol rifles. If you remember at the last meeting, we gave the authorization to purchase the patrol rifles, and then we had a discussion on what we should do with the rifles that are being replaced. We asked for Public Safety Director Moore to give us some options, and he have given us those options. And Ron, if you want to talk about them, go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. At your direction, at Mr. Brown's direction, I prepared this report with 4 options for the disposal and or the removal from service for the 17 patrol rifles in the inventory. I guess I would just leave it to city administration and to the will of the council as to how you would like for me to proceed with that. You could select one of the 4 options or a hybrid of one or more of those named in my report.
All right, we'll open up for discussion. Councilmember Smiley.
Thank you, Mayor Beagle. Chief Moore, do you have a preference as to which of these options?
Well, Mr. Smiley, I guess my preference is that the city would realize the greatest economic gain from the sale of the inventory. The sale of the firearms is perfectly legal under state and federal law. I believe that a reputable federal firearms licensed dealer will make the due diligence to ensure that the appropriate federal background or the NICS check is conducted before the sale is completed. So I guess my preferred option would be that the licensed police officers of the police department would be permitted to purchase his or her firearm that has been assigned to them. It's not theirs, but the one that was assigned to them. And then any remaining inventory be sold to an FFL so that the city would maximize the greatest revenue.
And that would be option 4?
Don't have my report in front of me.
That's okay. Let me read it real briefly, just for the record. I know we all have it.
Yeah, that's,
That appears to be option 4. Yes,
Yep.
sir.
I won't read it unless somebody feels we need to. That's what I support. I think option 4 is what we had planned to do before the question came up. And correct me if I'm wrong, Chief Moore. It's been our practice in the past for such, when guns are being replaced, by the police department. correct?
Yes, sir. That has been the practice
Okay.
of this administration and previous.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Councilmember Berman,
For the purposes of discussion, I'd like to make a motion to recommend the city move forward with option number 4.
Second,
Deputy Mayor Resnick.
You know, I thought long and hard about this over the last couple of weeks because we had so much discussion the last time. And one of the interesting things I went through is we allow our, Tim Sigma and the DPW to take our used vehicle inventory and send it out to auction once we retire them. And the interesting statistic over the last, 5, 6 years, I only went back 5 or 6 years, is there's about as many deaths as there are gun deaths in America. If you combine homicide, murders, and suicide, it's about 39,000. And if you take a look at our vehicular deaths, they're around 37, 38,000. So, we don't prohibit Tim from going out and selling a 15 or 20-year-old vehicle on the auction market. So I think I'm in favor of the city maximizing its revenue as well and getting these to a licensed FFL after the officers have their choice. So I'd support option 4 as well.
Any other discussion? Councilmember Sharp?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And Director Moore, thank you for the thorough vetting of the options. I appreciate the effort you put into this. And they all make sense. I think it's well written and thought out. So thank you. That being said, I still stand behind my position from previous that I just don't feel like, and Councilmember Resnick, surely you're not equating vehicle deaths to gun violence. I would hope not, but that's my opinion. And knowing Deputy Mayor Resnick, knowing Deputy Mayor Resnick, he has done a thorough research on that. However, I think we've all seen cities that have purchased guns back off the street and to destroy them. And that's a message. That's all it is. It's a message. It's an indicator of the willingness to stop gun proliferation. And maybe City of Wixom doesn't have that, and I'll stand by whatever the vote is. But I just don't believe we should be in the business of putting guns back on any form back on the street. I'm okay with option 3 to sell to the current licensed police officers. I'm willing to compromise, recognizing the morale issue possibly of offering a nice used weapon to our police officers. However, I just can't support option 4, but I'd be willing to support option 3. And the $4,000 or $6,000, I recognize that there is some money there, but we made a couple $100,000 on West Road that we approved to 600 or 800,000, and we only spent 750,000 or whatever the number was. So money comes and goes at various budgets. So I don't really view this as a big loss for the city. Anyway, that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome. Director Moore, how many officers do you feel will purchase these weapons? I know we're doing 23. How many of those do you think will be sold in a department, I guess, for lack of a better term?
We're purchasing 23. That is correct, Mayor. We're selling, we have 17 in the inventory to dispose of or remove from service. How many of those do I think would potentially be sold internally? I would say anywhere from 12 to 14.
Okay.
I think the officers are fairly excited and enthusiastic about the possibility of purchasing his or her.
So we're really only talking about 5 weapons going out to the licensed dealer. Pretty much.
Perhaps, sir. Yes, perhaps.
Thank you. Councilmember Gatchel.
Thank you. The deputy mayor can speak, though, if you wanted to address the other council members' comments, then you can come back to me.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to make a final, I'm not equating the type of death. I was just trying to make the point that we do not prohibit Mr. Sigma from selling at auction the material or the equipment that we're taking out of service in terms of vehicles. And again, I think if there is a use for it and there's an auction value, let's get it.
Councilmember Getchell.
Thank you. I'm of the same sentiment as Councilmember Sharp on this one. When you look at what we're talking about, assault rifles, not handguns. It's not something that you're going to carry in your purse for self-defense. It's not something that you're going to carry on your person for self-defense. It's not really a sporting rifle. Because of the caliber it's used for small game, which isn't humane anyway to use an assault rifle on small game. So I understand the potential few $1,000 loss to the city, and I rarely like losing money, but I can't think of a reason why this needs to be in the hands of someone right now or ever. I mean, it's not really a self-defense weapon for day-to-day use, maybe for protecting your home, but it's something to me where we don't need to be responsible for this ending up in somebody's hands, and maybe the wrong thing happens with it, which we don't control other than right now. So I'll be voting no on anything that puts this out for sale, essentially. Thank you.
You're welcome. Councilmember Berman, and then I'll go to Councilmember Smiley.
So I guess I kind of have a couple questions first before my comment. First and foremost, if it wasn't for the fact that this even came up in discussion at the last meeting, would the city have even needed our permission to sell these used guns? Because my reading of the charter is you wouldn't have needed our permission, correct?
Mr. Berman, I guess I would defer to Mr. Brown on that. In the past, when we have sold our surplus pistols, it did not come before council. It was something that I discussed with city administration, and that was we took care of it.
Right, that's accurate. As far as I'm familiar with past practice has been, we would have disposed of it. It just kind of came up in a conversational manner in the last report, which stimulated the discussion amongst council members, which led us to this point of bringing it up, because we said that we would for a final determination, because there was so much interest in it last time. But absent that, it probably would have been just kind of part of the process, sort of a trade-in kind of a thing, where we would have disposed of them through that kind of a process that we're advocating doing in this particular case, again, just after formal review by the council.
My second question is, and I appreciate that information, is if these guns are sold back to the federal firearms dealer, that money is going to go back into the forfeiture budget, correct?
I think that's incorrect, sir. I don't believe that. I believe the only way money can come into that particular account or that particular fund is through forfeiture activities.
Okay, because I wasn't sure from the last meeting if it was an offset on that expense or not.
I don't believe it's, I wish Marilyn were on the line, but I don't believe it's permissible for it to come back into that particular account, just by the nature of that account being as.
Understood. Well, I still stand by the motion I made that option 4 is the most financially prudent decision for us to make for the city. I believe as a council member, my job is to make the best financial decisions for the city. So that's the option I'll be supporting. And I really don't believe that us as a council should be overreaching and stepping into a state and national gun issue. I don't think that's something for us to do. these guns are going to a licensed dealer and they're going to go to people who get background checks, and they're just not going to go to people on the street that are going to cause crimes with them. So option 4 is definitely what I'll be supporting. Thank you.
Councilmember Smiley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple of things from our conversation just now. We're not responsible for these rifles after, we're selling them to a licensed dealer. And I believe these rifles are the same caliber my son just purchased last month for hunting next week. Destroying them serves no purpose. No one who wants to purchase a rifle is going to be denied a rifle because there's, half a dozen less, on the street, which I don't like that term either. Nor should they be destroyed. It's a proper decision financially, and I don't see any bad message being sent here. I feel very strongly that we need to go with option 4, and I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Gwendolyn Fox.
Thank you, Mayor. I cannot support the motion. I don't like the idea of putting any guns out there. I know you said, Councilmember Smiley, you don't like the term on the street, but I mean, the fact of the matter is we don't know where they're going. And yes, they're going to a dealer that supposedly does background checks, and hopefully they do. And hopefully they're very diligent. Can't support the motion. Thank you.
Councilmember Gotchel.
Thank you. I just want to speak to past practice when it comes to the sale of city property and items like this. And it's always mentioned how things will be disposed of, because I've heard it countless times that, we're going to get a credit of X amount back per unit that we turn back in, whether it's firearms or things at the DPW or some other item. I know that's a consideration that many council members look at when they're making a decision is, are we going to get a credit back or a trade-in value back for that? And just because when this conversation has been had in the past, the previous councils haven't elected to have this particular conversation or change the direction, doesn't mean that these types of items aren't within our responsibility or decision-making power. This isn't kind of just we're going to buy guns, do what you want with the ones we have. That's not the practice that I'm accustomed to, or has been the past practice of other councils as well. So I just wanted to kind of address that comment, that I do appreciate this coming up, just like other items that we discuss, whether it's trucks or other items. We do get to decide how we want to dispose of the items we're not going to be using anymore. Thank you.
Councilmember Sharp.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I should have done a better job of prepping myself, but I did just look up what a Springfield AR-15 is, and it's clearly an assault rifle. It is not a sporting weapon, and we're not selling them to other police departments because we said they're unsuitable for police use. So these are only going to people who want to do something with an assault rifle, and I don't even know what that is, but it's usually not good. That's my perception of it. And we may not be in the business of deciding what the gun legislation is, but we are in the business of speaking our minds and repping our citizens, and that's what I'm doing. I cannot support option 4. Thank you.
Anybody else? I have a motion in support to approve option 4, which is the city could sell the existing inventory to the current licensed Wixom police officers and sell any remaining firearms to reputable FFL when I don't think we need to go, when the FFL sells the rifle or long gun to a private individual, a reasonable background acquired through the NICS conducted by the FFL, this option would generate approximately $6,800 for the city. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Behrman,
Yes.
Councilmember Gotchel,
No.
Councilmember Grenlin Fox,
No.
Councilmember Sharp,
No.
Councilmember Smiley,
Yes.
Mayor Beagle,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Resnick,
Yes.
4 yes, 3 no.
Thank you. That concludes the unfinished business portion of the meeting tonight. We're moving on to do business number 1, which is a recommendation to utilize a bid process from the Oakland County Cooperative Purchasing Program and authorize the purchase of fire department and police department radio accessories for $5,986.60 from Oakland County of Pontiac, Michigan, and the purchase of 9 fire and police radios for $52,717.70 from Motorola Incorporated of Chicago, Illinois. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
I don't know who wants to give us a little background on this, if it'll be Public Safety Director Moore or Chief Roberts, or you both can talk about, your individual fire and police radios, but I'll put the floor to you guys right now and you can decide.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a project that has been in the works for several years now. There's been a discussion at Oakland County to replace the current open sky system of police and fire and public safety radios. There was a very lengthy investigation into that where an RFP request for proposal went out. Motorola was the successful bidder in that. And the Motorola radios and accessories were spec'd by the county. And I believe Chief Roberts would agree that this is going to be an outstanding product. On the police side, I can tell you that when at the time we were 1 police officer short of our budgeted number of 21 sworn police officers. So unfortunately for us, our timing wasn't great. When they told us how many radios we were going to get from the county, we were told we were going to get 20. Well, now with the hiring process that's currently ongoing, we're going to need an additional radio, and plus we've budgeted for an additional radio as a spare in case one goes down, 1 for our service aides and 1 for our other civilian staff, our non-sworn staff that works the front desk. So the police department's going to need a total of 4 additional radios in addition to what the county is going to provide. The county also has a program whereby the accessories, they have a stock set of accessories that consists of chargers, radio holders that go on the belt, the microphones, the wired microphones that the officers wear on the shoulders. They have a stock set of that. And we had the option of meeting with the folks at county and saying, kind of picking, okay, we like this accessory. We would like to upgrade to this accessory. And we believe that on the police side, as well as the fire side, we have an outstanding package, and it's going to be a fantastic product. And I guess I would leave the fire chief to discuss his side.
Yeah, so the only thing I would add to Director Moore's comments is these are the only radios allowable on the system. There's not another manufacturer out there that we could go and say to Kenwood or GE Ericsson and try and buy those, because the state is only going to let us use these type of radios, the Motorola APX 6000 on the system. And we actually have a fee that has to be paid per radio for the initiation of those radios. So.
Is that fee included in the 2 figures we're before us tonight, or will that be a different?
Nope, it's included in the fee. Yeah.
Okay, very good.
What was it, Chief? 250 per radio, I believe?
250 per radio, correct?
Okay, very good. Councilmember Behrman.
I guess just my only question was, when you say open sky to a better system, is the open sky system like the one where I remember my grandfather used to have a scanner in his house and he could listen in?
No, it's significantly better than that. The way the radio is, it's currently truncated, where it makes it difficult for somebody with a scanner to be able to listen in. But I'm told that they've done so much testing on this new Motorola system, and that I believe the police officers and the firefighters are going to be very satisfied with it. Currently, we have limited areas in the city where, if you go into a building, your radio might not work as well. There are certain areas in the south end of the city, down along Grand River, where we have what we call dead spots. We're being told that with this new system, that's going away.
Okay, so you're saying better coverage, not, I was thinking like the system we had now was one that someone could listen to on a scanner, and then the one that we're gonna get that they're not gonna be able to listen to.
So neither system you'll be able to listen to through a scanner type application.
Okay.
But one of the important notes is open sky is end of life. And it was literally the umbrella of Oakland County. If we left beyond the borders 8-10 miles, the radios were inoperable anywhere. It was a 100% dedicated system to Oakland County. And we're actually going onto the state system. It's just being administered by Oakland County.
So much safer for your firefighters and your police officers.
100%.
There are times, Mr. Behrman, when we have to send a police officer to go pick up a subject on a warrant arrest. And they may have to go to mid-Michigan to accomplish that. And the radio is just a paperweight, as the chief said, once you leave the county.
Makes sense.
The existing radio.
Thank you for that information.
Welcome.
Deputy Mayor Resnick.
Thank you, Mayor. Chief Moore, in terms of the adjacent counties and townships, then are they also on the P25 system? Livingston County and
Yeah.
Chief, are they also going to that?
The only one that's not on the P25 system currently is Southfield, but I believe they're transitioning to the new system as well.
okay, so all of our adjacent cities, townships, and even
Counties, yes.
How old is the P25 system? Been around for 10 years?
Well, it's been upgraded multiple times, but I think it's 15 years easily. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, thank you for the information.
Yeah, I think this was brought up to us like early in my council history, so it's been like 10 or 12 years that I know of, at least, that system's been around before. Any other comments, questions?
I feel like we've been budgeting for this for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree.
All right, so I have a motion and a second to approve the recommendation to utilize the bid process from the Oakland County Cooperative Purchasing Program and authorize the purchase of fire department and police department radio accessories for $5,986.60 from Oakland County of Pontiac, Michigan, and the purchase of 9 fire and police radios for $52,717.70 from Motorola Incorporated of Chicago, Illinois. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Getchell,
Yes.
Councilmember Grenlin Fox,
Yes.
Councilmember Sharp,
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley,
Yes.
Mayor Beagle,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Resnick,
Aye,
Councilmember Behrman,
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next up, new business number 2 is a recommendation to approve the purchase of laptops, printers, and headsets to facilitate remote work by city staff at a cost not to exceed $24,500 and seek CARES Act reimbursement through Oakland County. Do I have a motion?
so
So
moved.
support.
City Manager Brown, do you want to give us a brief
Yes.
on this?
Appreciate it, Mayor. So there's a slight change, as you might have caught on to the wording there. We had a precise number of units, and if we want to add the precise number of units, we can. But that has changed a little bit over the last few days since the development of the agenda for you to review this past week. So we're looking at purchasing not just the laptops and the printers, but adding headsets to it. There's a couple of reasons for that. The headsets primarily are going to be a way to enhance remote productivity of the employees that would have them, right? So if you're running a Zoom meeting from your home and you have a variety of activities going on in the house, you're not disrupting the activity as much if you have your headset. And likewise, you're getting less disruption from the outside if you have the headset. So the idea is to enhance productivity of those remote working employees. Initially, we had 25 count on all of the 2 units, the printers and the laptops. After we've done a closer review of what we see as the need, I apologize, my video there went out. After doing a thorough review of it, we think what we ultimately are going to have to order to do what we want to accomplish with our employees is 26 laptops and 28 headsets and 28 printers. But I would prefer to leave it open-ended if it changes slightly, as long as it's within the $24,500 limit, which it should well be. We've managed to get some quotes on the laptops, and we're saving substantially over what we projected initially. And the printers are likewise probably going to come in at less than we anticipated to begin with as well. So we feel that we'll be solidly under the $24,500. The idea of the whole purchase here is to enhance our ability to work remotely. And that's in a draconian bad news situation like we experienced with the pandemic. This is not something where people would have the option to work from home on a Monday because that was convenient to them. This would be for a similar situation with the pandemic where something of an outside nature interceded into our world and caused us to have to shut down operations at the city facilities. And we wanted to maintain operations of city functions and departments like finance and DPW, police and fire, city hall administration, et cetera, to the greatest extent that we can. When we went through the pandemic, we scrambled election laptops, frankly, to get as many as we could into the hands of as many employees as possible. The number of units was inadequate. Some of the units were inadequate. And when the units were put back in service for election purposes, there was things that had to be undone and redone, and the machines had to be recalibrated, if you will, from a technology standpoint to put them back in service with the election workers in the long run. Hypothetically, if we had an experience like COVID-19 that would have happened when things were shut down right in the middle of an election cycle, those units would not be available to us, right? So the idea here is to procure a dedicated set of laptops, headsets, and printers so that if something unforeseen like the pandemic that we experienced this past year were to come into play, we could maintain city operations at a greater level than we were able to when COVID-19 was at its worst. So that's the purpose of the purchase. The mention of the CARES Act funding is we do anticipate that we will be able to receive the reimbursement of the full cost of this purchase through the CARES Act funding. Oakland County has money set aside. I believe it was $30 million to begin with for purchasing these types of units. And enhancing remote work capabilities for the cities, villages, and townships in Oakland County, essentially. So we do anticipate that we're going to get reimbursement for this. So the way this will function is if you give approval today, we will make the purchase, we will expend the funds. We will then have an application that goes to the county for reimbursement through the CARES Act, and if it goes well, we'll get those monies back. But I would advocate that we probably want to proceed on the purchase regardless because of the situation that we experienced this time with COVID-19, with a variety of reimbursements that we have been able to achieve in other areas. We've received a lot of funding that wasn't necessarily expected at the outset of this pandemic. So we do have additional monies available, and even if we don't get the CARES Act funding, I think it would be a worthwhile expenditure. But I do expect that we will receive CARES Act reimbursement for the full cost, whatever it turns out to be. with the council's approval and agreement with the approach, you could either leave out the number of units and leave a not to exceed at 24,500, or if you wanted to insert units, it would be 26 laptops and 28 headsets and 28 printers at your pleasure on that front. And that's the purpose of it, and that's the outline of what we intend to do here. We're working with a manager at the county to to work through the application process and get an indication as to whether we're going to get the CARES Act reimbursement. But I do expect we will in the long run, which would be within a few weeks of purchase, essentially.
Deputy Mayor Resnick.
Thank you. Mr. Brown, in terms of the cap, are we capped on our CARES Act reimbursements through Oakland County?
There's a cap I don't know if I would call it exactly a cap. There's sort of a more accurate terminology would be sort of an allotment of monies that are available to individual municipalities. And we have an allotment that we have not yet hit. And this figure would not put us over that
It
allotment.
would not, okay.
It would not.
All right, and in terms of time, how much time do we have before we can submit CARES Act reimbursements through Oakland County?
I would be looking to, if I get approval from the council this evening, we'd be looking to proceed with the purchase by the end of the week, and then we'd be submitting for reimbursement as soon as the expenditure is made, which would be shortly thereafter.
I can't remember, but I think it's through December 31st. Is that correct?
Yeah, I thought it was December 31st, and when I inquired with somebody else, they told me it was 11:30, but I don't know that that's accurate.
But we have ample
It's
time.
11:30. So
Okay. All right, thank you.
you're welcome.
Councilmember Grenlund Fox.
Thank you, Mayor. City Manager Brown, I'm in favor of this in concept, but I just have a couple questions. So 26, so I'm just thinking of the employees throughout the city, and 26 seems like a lot of people. I know you had mentioned DPW and police, and typically those positions would be working in the field. So you're saying that some of those positions at least would be working from home? Are you thinking like the clerical type positions? And I know the chiefs obviously would or could work from home, but I'm just wondering who in DPW and police might be working from home.
Right. I think you're perceptive to come up with the fact that that seems like a high number. And when you discount police, fire, DPW, large portion of those employees wouldn't necessarily have these kind of resources allocated to them at first blush. However, Public Safety Director Ron Moore put in for 10 in the police department, which bumped our numbers up significantly. So it's the 10 in the police department, one additional unit in the fire department beyond what is already in play there, and then it's basically every single administrative employee beyond that, right? That would then have the capability of working from home. So this would be a big enhancement of what we were able to do during COVID-19, because we only had X number of units available and not everybody was able to do any of their work from home. Select employees were, but not all were. So first of all, we're literally looking to put it in the hands of everybody that's an administrative employee to allow them to have the opportunity to work from home if need be for a period of time in a situation like we experienced with the pandemic. And then the other reason is the 10 units in the police department, and I will let our Public Safety Director, Ron Moore, explain those to you if you would like.
With respect to the 10 in the police department, obviously it would be the administrative staff. It would be me, it'd be Lieutenant Mark Bradley, our sergeant who's working on accreditation. But additionally, from an operations perspective, we could put them into the hands of the 3 people working in the detective bureau. So much of their work could be achieved from home. Not all of it. They would still need to go into the field to conduct interviews, but they could prepare warrant packages for the Oakland County Prosecutor's Office. They could, with the use of their cell phones, they could conduct an awful lot of follow-up from their homes. So there's 6 right there. I'm thinking of the records manager, the clerk who works the front desk, 1 for the sergeants, and then 1 for training purposes if we send a sergeant off to staff and command or some sort of extended training. Ma'am, that's how I arrived at the 10 for the police department.
That makes sense. Thank you for the clarification. And then my only other question was, I know that you had said that these would be used in a type of emergency like we had back in March through June. Well, still are having, but as far as having people work from home, is the thought to just have these in storage and then when we need them, bring them out? And my question, I guess, is more towards with how quickly technology changes. If we don't need these in the next, year, could they then just be out of date and we'd have to go and replace them?
Yeah, there's a certain amount of truth to exactly what you're saying. Yes, there are going to be situations where some of them are just going to be kept in storage for just such an emergency, for lack of a better phrase, right? But the problem being that you can't anticipate those emergencies, and then you can't react to those emergencies, as we experienced with the COVID-19 situation when we were faced with these problems and the lack of this equipment. You weren't going to get your hands on this equipment, right? So there is a certain amount of it where you are going to be having some of it just sitting around, waiting to be used in an if-come kind of a basis. However, I do anticipate they'll be used in other circumstances, with people perhaps, if they're out of the office at a training event, they would be able to utilize it to stay in touch with things. If in the current circumstance, currently, like when we have somebody who has an exposure in their home household, that might have to stay out of the office for a period of time until they're cleared for return, we'd allow them to have this kind of a resource in their hands and allow them to stay productive instead of off completely, as we might be faced with currently. So yes, I think there's some truth to that. There will be some situations where it is just kept in reserve, if you will, and ideally that will be the way it turns out. But if a situation arises where they're necessary, we'll have the resources. We'll be able to keep operations to the highest level possible, and that's what the purpose of the expenditure is for that kind of eventuality.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Mayor.
Hopefully that helps.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Councilmember Smiley?
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, most of my questions got flushed out of that, last 10 minutes of discussion. Allotment sure sounds like another word for a cap, but that's fine. And then, yeah, where that number 26 come from? I think that was perfect. One thing, these aren't just for emergency purposes. I mean, the idea is to have several, most of these, go out and have employees have use at home. It seems like a great idea. So much of the country's workforce is doing whatever they can from home, and some people like it. Some people might not, but no, I think this makes a lot of sense. And yeah, as far as the couple of years, I would think the technology would hold up for a couple of years to be able to work, supplementary from home. And wish we could predict what's going to be going on 2 years from now, but I think this is good. And I guess I don't have any questions out of all that, but I still like it. Thanks.
Councilmember Sharp?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. City Manager Brown, so it sounds like this is a kind of an insurance policy, which I'm okay with, assuming we get reimbursed, which sounds like high probability, but not a guarantee. But operationally, do you foresee any changes to our operating patterns because we have these 26? Are they purely emergency, or do you foresee people getting deployed a new laptop and a printer and a headset to just kind of stay home? I mean, we're already working 4 days only in the office. I think I'm sensing from council that we don't really support an operating pattern change in terms of more people working from home more often than they are today. I think that's what the plan is, but I just would like to hear you say that.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's no administrative step 2 that's being enabled by this. This is only going to be used in emergency situations. It's not to enable people to choose to work from home on a onesie-twosie basis among staff, or on a Mondays and Thursdays, but not Tuesdays and Wednesdays basis. It's not going to be anything where that's going to be the purpose. That's not the way they're going to be deployed. It would be in a circumstance just as we experienced with the pandemic, where we were forced to shut down city facilities and people weren't able to come into work. They'd be utilized for those purposes. Beyond that, the only other use they're going to get is sort of what I mentioned in response to Councilmember Gronlund Fox's question, which was, if something comes up on an odd basis where somebody had to work from home because of this, like a scenario like we're currently experiencing, which is unprecedented, that would be the only other kind of circumstance where it would be on an individual basis. It's never going to be utilized to change our motto or our MO for day-to-day operations and allow people to work from home. It's just strictly in reaction to major emergency situations like we're experiencing now, and then the offshoots of those kind of things like we're experiencing right now with the pandemic, when people, have a situation where they can't come to work for a period of time. Beyond that, no, it's not going to be utilized for any other purpose, such as allowing people to stay at home and skip the work commute.
One other add-on, if I may, Mr. Mayor. So, Mr. Brown, the operations of that, operating budget-wise, usually there's some cost to have additional hardware, whatever it is, keep the software up to date, fix issues. Do you foresee any increase to that, or because of the nature of these where they're kind of sitting in storage, we'd manage it within our current operating IT operating budget? We wouldn't be.
Yeah, so that's a good question. One other thing too, sort of an operational decision that I've gone ahead and make, but I can bring it up for discussion among council as well, was the idea of purchasing insurance on these units if it gets approved, right? And that's a fairly substantial expense per unit, on the order of 15 to 20% of the cost of the unit for a 3-year insurance package. And my take on this, when we're not expecting to be rolling this out for day-to-day use, that we're going to not really have a lot of circumstances where a lot of these are going to be taken out of service because of a problem of breakage or anything like that. So my plan instead is to avoid that insurance expenditure and just purchase laptop bags to kind of protect them when they're being transported back and forth. So that's an additional expense that likely will be incurred, but that's a $10 or $15 expense from what I've seen on Amazon. So I'm not including that here because that'll be so low, it'll be substantially within my authority. It's a few $100s. The same thing is going to apply to added expenses from the IT staff, right? So if you were to approve this and we were to order 26 new laptops, there is some work that has to be done by the IT consultant staff to, get the things installed on there to protect them and keep them in compliance with the practices of the city with other equipment. Adding operating software and those kind of things. So there will be some added costs there. Had a discussion with the IT rep, and we don't have a firm handle on it, but again, it'll be well below my approval authority. So I would expect to do that just separately because we don't know what those costs are right now. And I didn't want to put that in front of you without really having a good estimate of it. So those kind of things, there'd be a couple of expenses that could come into play that would be below that $3,000 limit substantially, like the bags. I've done an estimate on the bags and it's less than $1,000, less than $800 in fact. So that's not a big add-on. The IT stuff, depending on what they have to install and operational decisions it will make, that could change substantially. So I haven't put that in this estimate. But again, we're talking about something on the order of $1,000 to $2,000 probably. So yes, there would be some additional expense, but beyond that initial putting it into service, I don't expect it would be added expense from the IT contractor standpoint. Adding these 26 units would not be adding additional costs beyond the putting them in service costs.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else? All right. Oh, go ahead, Councilmember Gotchel.
Thank you. I don't imagine there's a way where if this doesn't get approved for CARES Act money to not go through with the purchase, I guess, but it just seems a little bit much at this rate. I know case numbers are going back up. We'll see if we have a shutdown again. It doesn't seem like that's gonna occur any longer. So it just seems like we're gonna have these mainly sitting in storage. And I know if it gets refunded, it's not our money, but if it doesn't get refunded, then it is. And that's a big expense to just be sitting in a closet somewhere.
Yeah, Mayor, if I can answer that real quickly. I fully expect if we don't get CARES Act funding that I would take a hard look at this and see if there's ways to address skinnying the cost down a little bit.
Okay. Have we?
That's why I used the not to exceed figure. Sorry.
Are we aware of any other cities that have made these kinds of purchases and have gotten reimbursed? So there's some sort of track record, or are we just trying to do this and we don't really know about any other cities like that?
No, this has been done. It's pretty well established territory, actually.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. We will not be anywhere near the first.
Deputy Mayor Resnick.
Thank you, Mayor. Just one final thought here. Mr. Brown, has there been any thought to making this laptop perhaps a primary use unit in place of desktops for those employees that can, and that way they do get utilization. The antivirus software and everything else stays up to date, and start moving away from the fixed desktop units, right?
Yes, short answer. So we have already have a few employees who use a laptop as their primary working computing system, essentially. They have docking stations and they bring it back and forth. That's typically an employee that is a heavy user of the laptop that has a need for remote access to it regularly, department head level, those kind of positions and employees. But I do see a possibility of doing this, at least in some of these cases. And you can purchase docking stations for these units. So if it comes to light in the future where it makes sense to maybe do that, we could pick up docking stations and kind of do what you're proposing as a possibility to increase our utilization of this. Another reason why we haven't gone that route right now is the existing investment that we already have in desktops is such that we don't need to have them replace desktops. But as desktops sunset and go out of currency, if you will, I could see us doing that in these circumstances. And if these units are more current than the desktop unit, that would be something we would evaluate. If it's further down the line and it's a time period when we have to look to an update to the laptop, then we could evaluate the laptop for becoming the primary unit for that kind of a person, if it makes sense, and start doing a mix between desktops and laptops more than we do now. It's very much stilted towards desktops currently, but we could shift to a more of a model where we're shifting to docking stations if it makes sense at some point in time. Just right now with our investments where they're at, it doesn't.
All right, this needs to be considered because
I agree.
Private industry has gone to that, so you can be
Right.
Well, all right.
Yeah, we had a conversation with the IT folks about that very thing.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right, seeing no other comments, I have a motion and a second to approve the recommendation to approve the purchase of laptops, printers, and headsets to facilitate remote work by city staff at a cost not to exceed $24,500 and seek CARES Act reimbursement through Oakland County. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Grenlin Fox,
Yes.
Councilmember Sharp,
Aye.
Councilmember Smiley,
Yes.
Mayor Beagle,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Resnick,
Yes,
Councilmember Behrman,
Yes.
Councilmember Gotchall,
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is the second call to the public. Second call to the public, the rules are the same as the first call to the public, with the exception of you can talk about whatever's on your mind. I'm not going to read through the rules again, but I will just reassure that pressing *9 on your telephone keypad will activate the raised hand feature and telling us that you wish to comment. Participants will be called one at a time. And when you are unmuted, please introduce yourself by stating your name and address for the record, and you will then have 5 minutes to share your comments with City Council. Do we have anybody for the second call to the public?
Mayor, if I can interject quickly, Rob.
Certainly.
Yeah, we only have 2 people out there on the 248 numbers, correct?
Yes.
I identified both of those as city staff, so there's nobody
Okay.
out there in the public.
All right. Thank you. No
All right.
one else is here, so no raised hands.
All right, very good. Thank you. And we'll move on to city manager comments, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. So my city manager update has some great stuff in it this time. I wanted to share with you a couple of nice comments that we got from people that were very complimentary of our outstanding employees. First of all, our city clerk, Kathy Buck, and our deputy clerk, Crystal Opalco, had a nice Facebook post that recognized their outstanding work on the election. And we talked a little bit as we were making conversation before the meeting started about things. And want to point out that the city clerk and the deputy clerk and election workers, many of them were here until 3:30 in the morning on election day, Tuesday into Wednesday, November 4th. So that's just a tremendous amount of work, tremendous demands on Clerk Buck and Deputy Clerk Opalco for weeks and weeks and weeks before that election. So I wanted to make sure that we provided you that Facebook post that gave them a congratulations for their hard work and appreciation for their hard work. I really can't oversell what they did. It was Herculean efforts to get that election done. It was just unprecedented, and I'm in awe of Kathy and Crystal's efforts, and want to extend my own thanks to them for all the great work that they did, and also to the election workers that just went above and beyond. Typically, you'd be looking at election workers being there until 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and they were there until 3:30 the next morning. So we're probably going to try to look at whether we can do something for those folks to recognize the additional work that they did. And I'm likely to take some action on that in the coming days as we get a chance to go through that. But I wanted to just give them my thanks and recognize that thank you from Facebook as well. The same for DPW. There was a nice email that came in from a resident that was very appreciative of the outstanding work that the DPW does in terms of a specific instance that they had, as well as in terms of the leaf collection program, which council continues to commit to, and the DPW continues to make a reality, which is not something that's normal in our municipal workspace. The leaf programs are few and far between, and it's a service that we're pleased to offer, but it is very challenging, and we're appreciative of getting those kind words from that resident on that. And also, they also complimented the DPW on the outstanding work they do in plowing, which is another thing that I think we distinguish ourselves at in the municipal service business, because anecdotally, I hear it all the time. I can tell when I hit Wixom, and I can tell when I leave Wixom. And this person was recognizing that and extending their appreciation for it. And I wanted to make sure that I supplied that to you so you were aware of it. I get lots more than just these couple on a regular basis. And I try to just bring them up every once in a while to give you a flavor for the kind of outstanding work that our employees are doing. But that's just a couple in a list of many. But I wanted to bring those up and share those with you today. And I'm glad that we had the chance to do that. And then the other thing I was going to talk about in the city manager's office, we've got a reference there to our website being refreshed and updated. Our provider, Granicus, is working with Cheryl. Cheryl's doing a lot of work on this, and congratulations to Cheryl Lucas on the work that she's done on that. We're looking at a go live date of November 16th. You're going to see a much improved website in terms of currency, in terms of accuracy, in terms of content, as well as in terms of looks, in my opinion. It's going to be a distinctly different look, and it's going to be an improved look. And we're looking forward to that. So I encourage you to take a look at it on November 16th and give us some feedback right away when you get the chance to let us know what you think about it. But if we go according to schedule on the 16th of November, that will go live, and we're excited about that. So congratulations to Cheryl, and thank you to Cheryl for all the work that she's done in making that a reality. The only other thing that I wanted to mention on that personal standpoint, I wanted to thank Mayor and Council for including my father-in-law, Wendell George, in a moment of silence at the beginning of the meeting, and my colleagues at the city that have been so kind to me and offering their condolences as well. I wanted to say thank you to them. Mr. George is a man who's been a big part of my life here since marrying into the family a few years ago, and just an outstanding guy, and super smart guy, super hardworking guy that's always treated me and everybody around me well. And he lived a great life and had the opportunity to live a long life and have a lot of fun experiences. And that's comforting, but it's still tough for the family. So I appreciate you including that in the moment of silence today. Thank you very much on behalf of my wife and our entire family. So thank you.
You're welcome. Council comments. We'll start out tonight with Councilmember Berman.
Really all I had was, again, to offer my condolences to City Manager Brown and his family, and to congratulate the clerk's office for the election. It was a very smooth when I showed up. At least my precinct moved extremely quick. I was in and out in probably 10 minutes. And, I was watching Facebook from people were posting in other municipalities where they were waiting for, over an hour to vote. So that's a blessing that we ran it as efficiently as we did. The only last thing to note, are we completely done with West Road? And if we are, could we remove all the orange signs throughout our entire city with the detour for West Road, because they're all over downtown, all over Wixom Road, all over Pontiac Trail. It'd just be nice if we could get those orange signs down. There doesn't really seem to be much of a purpose for them anymore, and it really does detract from the image of the city.
Tim, I don't know if you're still there at the moment, but we'll take a look at that if not. So
Yes, DPW will take care of them. That's a contract thing that has happened in the past, and we'll take care of them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Tim, while you're on there too, can you send a crew around to pick up the election signs that are still up? The election's over and we need to get those down, or I'm sure some of those have probably been up since August if they won the primary, so we can take them down now.
And,
10 days is what we do
Okay.
usually. So yes, sir.
And I learned during my tour of the DPW yard, there is a big bin out back. So if your sign gets removed by the DPW, you can then go retrieve your sign from the bin out back.
Yeah,
That's correct.
Councilmember Gatchel.
Thank you. I also wanted to share my congratulations with the city clerk and deputy city clerk on another smooth election, especially watching the last week around the country, the debacle going on. It seems like our city clerk's office and staff are always prepared, even when there's kind of a shortage of ballots. A few elections ago, I know we ran into that, but our clerk and deputy clerk are always planning ahead to make sure everything goes smooth for our residents, and I'm sure everyone appreciates that. I'd also like to share my condolences with the family and friends of Larry Grant, and along with our city manager and his wife and their family for their recent loss. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Grenlin Fox.
Thank you, Mayor. I would also like to thank city staff for all of the work they did on the election, the clerk's office, as well as the DPW, and really all the staff, because I know how hard they work. And anytime you deal with the public, it's not easy. I'd also like to share my condolences with the family of Larry Grant and then City Manager Brown and his wife as well. Thank you.
Councilmember Sharp.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, first and foremost, City Manager Brown, Steve, and his wife Tracy, my condolences on the loss of her father. I know you were close, and it's a hard surprise today, I'm sure. So thank you for being here too, by the way. That's quite a commitment, and appreciate the extra time. Wanted to also thank DPW Director Sigma. The Leaf guys did indeed come back and picked up all my leaves. So I was chasing the truck down though with a tarp full of leaves to get in front of him, but he got them. So thank you. And I did want to ask City Clerk Kathy Buck about what was the final count of the tax? I saw, we were about 80%, but we hadn't counted all the absentee ballots. Has that been done? Do we have a final tally of the tax initiative?
Oh my gosh, I do not have that in front of me, but I will certainly get that and email it to you.
Okay, thank you.
the number I came up with in the past, I think it was based on the final numbers. I don't think they changed.
Well,
but
it was.
in the,
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it was like in the order of 80.8%, which is outstanding. So thank you to the residents for supporting that at the extent that they did. Outstanding.
All right. Thank you.
Councilmember Smiley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Quick question for Tim. Tim, I assume the good weather has been a boon for the leaf collecting. I'm just wondering, could you just a very brief update or situation
Certainly.
of where we're at on the the
Yes.
overall project.
How's the war room
We're-
going on the leaf collection program, Tim? That's what we want to know.
We're working on the north section right now. The final section of our scheduled leaf pickup program. What we did this year is each week as we went through a different section, we also went back and because it was so dry this year, we were able to get quite a few leaves picked up in other sections as we move forward. So we're hoping to finalize section 4 this week. And then we have 2 leaf crews going out next week. One crew will be going through section 1 and 2, and the other group will be going through section 3 and 4 once more for a second pass all the way through the entire city. So that's our goal for the next week and a half. And provided we do not get snow, we will be well on our way to getting 80-90% of the leaves picked up in Wixom.
Awesome. Great. Thanks for that. Other than that, yeah, my condolences to the Grant family. Steve, that was very nice. Those things you said about your father-in-law. My condolences to you and your family. God bless
Appreciate it.
both of them. Kathy and Crystal. Only thing I'll add to what's already been said is, I'm very proud of our Wixom clerks. That was great. Want to thank the residents, for passing the additional operating millage with quite strongly. And finally, tomorrow's Veterans Day. Take a moment to thank a veteran. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Resnick.
Thank you, Mayor. Steve, again, heartfelt condolences from my family to Tracy, you and the family.
Thank you.
It's quite a loss, and the family of Larry Grant as well. Our condolences. Kathy and Crystal, phenomenal. I walked in on the Thursday before Election Day, and when I walked through the door to drop off my absentee ballot, I thought I was going to be able to chit chat and actually talk to Kathy for a couple minutes. And it was like a normal election day. I thought, oh my gosh, she had like 6, 7, 8 election days to deal with, not just one as we typically do. And it was packed in there. And there was probably 8 to 10 people in line to vote. So what an outstanding job you guys did, as you always do. Thank you to the voters, supported overwhelmingly. Vote of confidence, I think, in the way the funds are being spent and the services we have been offering. I think that the leaf pickup is something people like. So I think this additional millage will keep that going for a while as well. So that's good. The website revamp, that's great. That's great news. I hope that it makes it more contextual so that Cheryl can actually, the week before tree lighting, she can make that front and center. The week before the election information could be front and center, not having to hunt through and find it on 15 links. So I hope that that revamp allows her to do a lot more with the website in terms of being a great communication tool for the city. And one last comment. Again, driving home from my office today, ICP property, I still see that pile of asphalt ground up close to Wixom Road. And I remember we had some agreement where all that stuff was supposed to be moved back or moved off the property ASAP, but I think that's about 3 weeks now. Does Tim do you have any update on that?
That is supposed to be removed. That the asphalt is the only area that can be removed from the site. All the concrete work is going to remain in place there.
That goes back to the mountain, so that's good, right? But
it does, yes.
Right on Wixom Road.
Right, we had expected that was going to be moved here very quickly because of I guess the sale of the property or the new use of the property. So we're expecting it to go quickly. Why it's taking 3 weeks is we're not sure yet, but we'll keep pushing at them for sure.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, and happy Veterans Day, and thank a veteran tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. And my condolences go out to Steve and Tracy on the loss of Tracy's father, Steve's father-in-law, and to the Larry Grant family on the loss of Larry. I got to know Larry a little bit better. Larry was a basketball official, so I would see him from time to time at games and stuff like that. Very nice fella, and he'll be missed around here. Congratulate Crystal and Madam Clerk Kathy Buck on another great election. Like you say, we see everything going on around the country with voter fraud, this and that. We never have to worry about that because our clerk has things under control. And I'd like to also thank Tim Sikma and Public Safety Director Moore for everything they did with the election too, with putting barriers up in front of the doors and with having police staff available. Bad sign of the times that we have to do stuff like that for an election, but we planned for it, and thank you guys for doing that. Thank you to the citizens for the vote of confidence on approving the millage. Like we've said here tonight, they like the leaf pickup. We've got a gap at the fire station. We'll be able to correct now, and thank you for the vote of confidence on that. Tomorrow is Veterans Day, so thank a veteran, and thank you veterans for your service. And last but not least, tomorrow is also Council Member Smiley's birthday, so happy birthday, Rob. And with that, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So moved.
Bart.
Support.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great. Everybody have a great week.
You too.
Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all.
Good night, everybody.
Good
Thanks,
night,
Rob.
Jeff. Good night, Ron. Good night. Thank you, Rob.